Okay. Does everything seem to be going correctly? I think so.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. So this is the next interview in Archana City Prabhu's her class, which is the beauty and messiness of the Sadhaka's journey. And today we are fortunate to have Guru-vakya Prabhu. I'm sitting in for Archana just for this month because she's doing a lot of other stuff, moving. So welcome, Guru-vakya Prabhu. I'm really glad that I'm able to meet you somehow. I always wanted to meet you. When I heard Guru Maharaj give you this name, Guru-vakya, I thought that's such a nice name, and it's such an important service that he must be giving that name to. Such a nice devotee, because the as Narottam Thakur says in Guru Vandana, the Guru Mukha Padmavakya Chitite Korya Aikya. So we understand as students of Guru Maharaj how important language is to him. So all of the interpreters and translators have such an important service. It's really so I think it's a very powerful name that you have. And so I will just, anyway, I'm very happy to meet you. Too bad it's not in Poland, but maybe someday.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll just read Guru-vakya's biography that he sent. And then we can get started. So Guru-vakya Prabhu was born in 1970 in Wrocław.
We could say Wrocław in Polish, but you can say like Wroc and love. It sounds good.
Wrocław.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
Wrocław, Poland, where he still lives. He met the devotees in 1990. I also met the devotees in 1990. Oh. In 1998, he co-founded a publishing company which published, among others, a very well-received abridged edition of Forbidden Archaeology, The Hidden History of the Human Race by Dhruta Karma Das and Sadaputta Das. He translated Alien Identities by Sadaputta Das, Diet for Transcendence by Satyaraj Das, and later on Guru Maharaj's Shikshastakam, Gopal Tapani Upanishad, Joy of the Self, Aesthetic Vedanta, plus a few articles in sangas. Currently, he is working on translation of Sacred Preface. Found by Guru Maharaj in 2009. I assume that means Guru Maharaj happened upon this devotee, and he has been around ever since. It says here he is married at one of the sanga retreats, and he daily teaches English online.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah. in a nutshell. Yes. But, well, maybe you made this little intro about my name, and it's like it's a funny story about it, because my wife knew I would get a name, and she was, because my let's say birth name was Christoph, which is like Christopher, so it begins with K, so she thought I would be Krishna something, yeah, and she was like, okay, so you'll be Krishna someone, and then she said, oh, and then I got when she heard Guru-vakya, it's like, oh my God, Guru, like, how can I tell my parents you some kind of guru, So that was a kind of beginning. And yeah, this name is quite a demanding one, because I cannot escape from my service. So, in some way, it's like, even if I'm down in the dumps, so to say, I still remember my name, and I say, okay. And it's when I'm not doing any service along these lines, it's like, it's quite embarrassing, because, and it's like, I'm a kind of hostage to my name. and in some transcendental way. So, and I can say,
Very nice perspective.
yeah, yes, and it's a funny story, because I think it's when I look at myself and Krishna consciousness, I'm a kind of refugee, and I was trying not to get into it, in maybe not at all, but I was trying. I said, oh, it's too soon, it's too much, and I need more time, and it's like, it's a funny thing. It's been like a kind of play with Krishna in some ways, and this story with the name also shows this, that I was kind of, it was a kind of bargain, and it's like, no, it's not a bargain. This is the name, and this is you're supposed to do. So, kind of introduction to this.
You're dragged into a confidential service that you can't run away from.
Yeah.
That's nice. So, as you may have seen some of the other interviews, and Archana is basically trying to guide these interviews. It doesn't have to be specifically related, but on this idea of the hero's journey. So, if you could tell us a little bit about how you came to be on this hero's journey as a sadhaka. Was there anything from the beginning of your life or your childhood that you feel like helped you come towards the bhakti marg?
Yeah, it's hard to say whether it was a deciding factor that like put me on the bhakti marg, but there is, I was actually, there is this element of suffering in life, and I think that it kind of kicks us into some solutions. And I was prematurely born. That was probably the first thing. So, and I remember my parents telling me that actually there was the first issue was like a struggle for life. When you're a 7-month kid in an incubator that's overheating, so that was like maybe the first thing that subconsciously kind of pushed me in some direction. But from early childhood, I remember like one funny thing my mother told me I said once. So that was also mind-boggling later on in my life. Like I said something like, when I was a kid, I don't know, like 5-year-old, maybe 4-year-old kid, I said something suddenly like that the blood has leaked out of me, the soul has flown away, the soil has covered me, but I'm alive. Something like this. And she was flabbergasted. Well, a kid could say something like this. So basically there was, maybe it's not like, because I've heard many devotees saying like, it's a quest for God, and the completeness and so forth. I had something like, it was like really like understanding who I am, and like what it really means that I am. And I had really, like, when I was a kid, I had this funny mental exercise when I was, for example, passing people in the street. I was kind of figuring out, why is it that I'm looking at them from my perspective and I'm not them looking at me? I had this kind of quandary. So I remember this, it was like a kind of loop, that I couldn't find the answer to. So I remember this like, early childhood, and I was a kind of, as a naughty boy. Yeah.
You mean like understanding kind of the boundaries of yourself?
And bounding on myself, and why am I not in this place and time? Why am I not the other person looking at me from the outside, right? And why is it happening that?
Did I get here? And
so why am I just in this body, like let's say, looking at the others at this particular time and not the other way around? So I remember that was kind of funny loop that I had as a kid. Yes. And another thing was like, I think as like in many cases, in many interviews, like you cannot really find something like a solid ground, and that everything is actually passing, and you cannot find a grip, on anything, that everything is just slipping through your fingers, and that sort of feeling. So, and you get, I remember I got some kind of, I was fed up with many things, and it was like maybe and I didn't ascribe it to anything like a quest, but maybe my psychology. But anyway, that was this feeling, and yeah, and that was this. And of course, I was interested in stuff like parallel universes, science fiction, maybe that's why I got interested later on in this, Sadaputa's alien identities and, these things. So that was like, early years, I would say. And also I was a kind of nasty boy because you come from Poland, so it's a Catholic country, at least nominally it's a Catholic country. And, when you go to school, at least now also, I guess, you have to attend religious or like extracurricular, religious classes. That was the case when I was a kid. So, Poland used to be a communist country, but there was a kind of deal that children went to church, for religion. So there was this, there was enough freedom but there was not freedom. Like most of my, classmates, they went to religion lessons, and I wasn't attending them. And there was and it was like maybe 20 something, kids in the class. And there were only 2 guys that didn't attend religion, religious lessons. So, and I was, this was a kind of heavy. And this guy, and I remember we were sitting in one place together, like with this guy, and he was red-haired, and he was left-handed, and he was an atheist, and I was an atheist, two little atheists, kind of pressure, left-handed atheist sitting with another atheist, and we had these stories. We were just walking, walking down the aisle and asking kids, okay, so you're laughing at us, so where's your God? And then we were just kind of asking questions and cornering them. They couldn't kind of give a satisfactory answer. And I was a little, kind of rebellious atheist. Yeah, that was my childhood.
Sorry.
So like that.
Was your family particularly religious or not? Or
no, not really. I think my mother was religious. My father wasn't, let's say, atheist.
Yes.
Sorry in the interruption. I have a problem with the Wi-Fi, so I have to reconnect in my phone, and I will need to be allowed as interpreter again, I believe. Sorry for the interruption.
No,
okay. Hang on just one sec, Guru-vakya.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Guru-vakya.
So, so that was my school years in primary school and so on. And then, in secondary school, it was maybe a little bit, we can say from the spiritual perspective, a little better, because I thought I think I turned a little agnostic. I said, okay, why am I so kind of, aggressively atheistic? Maybe there's something out there, right? So I said, okay, maybe there's something out there. So I had this attitude, I remember, as a kid. And
do you think there's anything that prompted that little bit of open-mindedness?
There was something, and I think we had a classmate in high school. I had a classmate who was like trying different things, and he had his own journal. He a kind of magazine. He was writing about politics. We had underground newspaper. Against the regime and stuff. So we were getting more serious. Like teenagers. In their 17s and so forth, getting more aware of what was happening around us. And he went, he checked a lot of things. He changed his hairstyle and so forth, and we kind of, sometimes we laughed at him, and, it was like, So there was a story, and once he became a vegetarian, but he became a vegetarian because he had met the devotees.
Uh-huh.
And it was something like, I don't know, 1980 something, I don't know, 4 or 6 maybe. 6 probably, 1986. And and he started saying different things. I mean, like vague things, strange things. So he had kind of freaked out, and he was saying something about Krishna. He was talking about Mahamantra, but I think it was like too weird. And and I liked like ridiculing everything. It was like this little atheistic thread that continued to high school, and like kind of actually nullifying everything, tearing everything to shreds. That was good fun. I liked Monty Python at that time, this absurd sense of humor. So we kind of ridiculed this guy. He's like, whatever, he's like really crazy. So, but at that time I didn't see the devotees. I saw them, I think later on, like maybe a couple of years later, I saw them in the city center of my hometown. And, and it was like, autumn or winter time. And they were like, wearing dhotis, but, those long johns beneath, and so forth. And I said, well, it's like, and wearing watches. And I said, well, are they like monks or something? That strange combination of outfit, right? And said, and they're singing this song, this is like, what the hell, and it was like, that was my first contact with the devotees. So that was back at, in high school. But later on, when I was a freshman at university, I think I had some expectations, of what university, should look like. Like there should be some debates, philosophical, well, whatever, like free thought. But this was like regular school, yes, especially when you were a freshman, first year of studies. So I was really disappointed. It was like first semester. I said, what the hell what's this? Mm-hmm. And I think I remember at that time I started reading different books, like Carl Gustav Jung, for example. It's like the travel to the East and so forth. And and I became, I think, more open-minded. And then I remember, in 1990, it was my second semester, my first year of study. And and I still remember it was the 19th of April 1990, and I remember this date till now. And I remember, actually, this was a kind of community center where I went, but I think the day or 2 days before, I met a devotee in the street, and and this time he cornered me. He was quite smart. Later on, he turned out to be a drummer in a devotees band and so on. And I still remember his name. His name was Jagat Pita Prabhu. So if he ever listens to this, like, I would say hello to him. And he changed my life in a way, like in a direct way, we could say. So he invited me to a program, and and it was a big thing for me, really, because when I listened to some devotees, when I here, and they had some preparation in a way, like theistic and so forth, like and I was was a kind of agnostic, and so I remember that meeting was really, it was like a major change in my way of thinking. And
but it sounds like until this point, you were quite intellectual and kind of like you wanted something to make sense, or you're trying to make sense out of the world, and even that kind of challenging, tearing down. Like you wanted something substantial, not just kind of sentimental religiosity. It sounds like
it was like a medal. It was like on the one hand, you have a boy who's looking for something. It's like you actually question a lot of things, mostly everything. At the same time, when you're a teenager, you're looking for love, and it's not arriving yet, So it's like a kind of mixture, yes. And but it was like a this meeting, I remember that, the funny thing is those things that were not intellectual were first, they hit me. So I remember first thing that really, like, I was sitting in the audience, and there was, music was there, and music was nice. I said, oh, that's nice music and stuff. And oh, that's this mantra I was laughing at. Yeah, that was like this feeling. And but at one point, I think they were frying papadums at the back. And I said, oh my God, what is this? So I think that was this first moment. And then I bought, and it was like, I remember it was like 8 p.m. And I was hesitant. I said, okay, nice meeting and so forth. But yeah, and I remember, now I remember, I also saw devotees. I'd seen them before. I was passing the local railway station, on my way back from school. I like long walks and so on. And they were selling books in the hall of the railway station. And they wanted me to take a book. And I said, oh no, because I thought they were like the same guys, like, Jehovah Witnesses were really hard pressing on books and everything. And I said, no, like, forget about it. So like a few times I passed like this, I think. And then they said, oh, these are the same guys. Yeah. And I said, okay, so what about this book? Shall I, go for it or not? And I had like, it was like, world on the scales. Yeah. I said, okay, let's give it a try. And I bought the Science of Self-Realization. And there were like interviews, with John Lennon and stuff. And I remember, so I was like floating when I came back home. I was like floating in the air. I remember it was like, what's happening? I don't know, but it's like this feeling, and yes. And I started reading till late at night. And it was, I didn't understand many things, most of the things, but it felt good. The reading was pleasant. I didn't understand it, but the reading was, was tasty. Yeah. I liked the book, smelled of incense. I was smelling this book, It was
It sounds like you transformed a little bit, like the intellectualism or the reasoning.
Yeah.
Was kind of
like a little,
by
the door opened a little, and I
almost like the spiritual, sensual side kind of overwhelmed.
And it was a very interesting experience. And I remember, I think it was something like Thursday. I don't remember exactly, but on Saturday, I just I had an appointment with my friends to go hiking, and all of them. I mean, it was like a bunch of people. I don't know, 5 or 6 people, and they had all canceled this meeting. They said, no, I'm sorry, I can't join you. So I was alone, and I said, okay, whatever, I'm going on a hike myself. So I covered something like 20 kilometers on foot, and that was also interesting. And there's a place near Wrocław that's like a holy mountain, and it's like old Slavic or Celtic place. With it's a kind of shrine, pre-Christian shrine, but you've got Christian elements to it also. Like this is like a typical, in Europe, they Christian, when the Christianity came. So so you have this way of the cross on your way to the top of the mountain, and so and I had like. And I had this, I remember this conversation, Srila Prabhupada, about Jesus Christ and everything, and it was really funny for me at that time, because I remember I actually knelt in front of this Jesus deity, so for me it was like, wow, I know now these guys, all these priests and nuns, what the game is about. So that was like that was really cool. And sometimes people say, oh, you just join this cult, or you join this group, and you just feel the way they do because they tell you. and it was very universal. It was like, this perennial experience. So that was for me.
You had your own kind of profound experience that made
this was
real
like,
for you.
this was like, oh, now I know what they mean by saying God, right? So that was, so I know, oh, so so the priests and they are not kind of crazy guys. So so, and the devotees are not, and so forth. Yeah. So that was my, and it was really magical.
Oh, nice.
Kind of, we can say this way was kind of trip. This trip was a little bit symbolic, I can say. It was a nice trip, but when I look back, yeah, it's a kind of symbolic trip. So this is how I met the devotees. So
Yes.
so.
So that community center, that was like something that wasn't a temple, that was devotees had arranged to do a program there, and
yeah, they arranged programs in different places, and then I at some point I visited a temple, also the local temple in Wrocław, and that was, I had a lot of feeling. I mean, first time in a temple was kind of hard because, the smells were the same, the scent was there, but there were the deities. And for me, it was a really hard nut to crack, bowing in front of the deity, that was. And for me, it was also the problem that these deities were small, kind of small. So it's like they should be bigger, whatever. It doesn't look like it's kind of serious thing, And they were still bowing and dancing, and this dance was. It's like you had to open your heart more. So that was hard stuff for me, really, for many years, probably even now at times. But that was too much mind over heart, I guess. But I remember a few moments.
This was going to the temple, or you had joined or moved in?
No, I was just I just went to the temple once in a while, and the temple also moved to different locations at that time. I remember I had a few moments like it really felt. I really felt at home. It was a very interesting feeling. I tried to kind of suppress this feeling, and it was too strong for me, my nature, and to run away, So, so I tried different things in the meantime. I went to yoga classes. I tried this. I tried that. I was a young boy. There was one basic problem. I think that. It was the problem in many devotees' lives, and that's the fourth regulative principle, right? That you actually thought that they were, like real monks, and and this was like externally this was the official standing. That this is like this is like you've got the early 90s. So it's not necessarily walking the talk, but the image was like this. And I was a young naive boy, so I said, no, this is not for me, come on. And I didn't have a girlfriend at that time, so I said, come on, forget about this. So that was this conflict. Beautiful philosophy, attraction to the holy name, but no, I don't want to be a monk in my life. I still have some life ahead of me. So that was this this contrast, that was this gap to bridge. So and then in this way, and I had my friend, my high school friend, he also got interested, in Krishna consciousness, because I told him right after this first meeting, and he got interested and so forth, and he started archaeology in Krakow. So each time, each weekend he came back to Wrocław, and we spent, evenings, sometimes until, extending until mornings. And we were just talking. Now, before we were drinking beer, to like this, and then now we were discussing, this philosophy and what's it all about, and so forth. So, so I thought it was a kind of nice way to he had this idea, he wanted to translate forbidden archaeology, into Polish. And one devotee also suggested that, well, I translate alien identities. So I thought, oh, I'm not the one who's going to join the temple and be a monk. I prefer, this is a good space for me, like combination, translating books that will show Krishna consciousness is not in such a drastic way as So in this way, so the funny thing was we were in the middle of translation. He was translating this Forbidden Archaeology, Hidden History of the Human Race, and I was translating Alien Identities. And one devotee one day, she said, "Oh, why don't you publish these books?" Because the devotee who had actually inspired us to translate, he kept promising, "Oh, I've got the contract from Sadhaka. I've got the contract. I will have the contract." And it's like 1 year passed, nothing happened. Another half a year, and nothing was happening. And I said, "No, like let's maybe try." So this is how it began. We actually started a publishing company. It was a computer, actually. Computer, you need a computer, and we actually this was Govardhan Hill Publishing, I believe at that time. There was this publishing house in the United States that was run by Sadhaka Prabhu, and I exchanged a couple of letters, and we bought the rights for the book, so everything was like prim and proper. And and we were, and Martin, a friend of mine, he was that friend. He completed Forbidden Archaeology first, and then we found. And then why am I talking about it? Because strangely enough, when we were starting the company, there were 3 of us, and the third was the now Krishna Karanam. So he was the guy, we needed a guy to distribute books, and he was the best local book distributor, I believe. Yeah. And he said, "Oh, this is a great idea." So he contributed some money into this project and so forth. And later on this book, to our surprise, the book started to sell. And we invited Druta Karma Prabhu to Poland, and we made a tour, and the book ended up being the 7th. It was like the 7th best-selling book, in the category of popular science in Poland, 1 year. So it was really nice. But sadly, the business, and we published Alien Identities, a couple of books, like a book about Vastu. We even published one book about Fatima. It was funny that we can say, well, Hare Krishna guys published a book, Catholic book on Fatima. We met one UFO researcher, Michael or Misha, whatever his name, Heiseman. He was quite popular, and he was a UFO researcher who converted into Catholicism. It was interesting, interesting persona. And he said, and we were talking about the book, and I said, okay, let's publish this book. And it's funny because he had a picture of the Pope on the cover, and we didn't need what Catholics say, imprimatur. Imprimatur, you need special, stamp from the church authorities that you can distribute the book. But we showed the picture of the author with the Pope, so we were able to sell the book, and it also became the bestseller of Catholic books. It was funny. So we were like a 5th column, let's say. But it was, it was good fun, and I think, it was good chapter in my life. We had some internal tensions between the 3 of us. So so I left, my other friend left, Krishna Karanam remained, and he's still running his business successfully. And we returned later on, So that we joined forces in a way later on, but I will come back to this. So anyway, so that is like kind of background.
This is kind of like mid 90s or something.
this was like the turn of the 90s, and it's like 2000 something, let's say 2002, 2000
So,
plus, let's say.
so during this time, you were like you were serving ISKCON or
Yes, I was
connected with the temple through doing this publishing and
actually
and that
no,
was,
the temple was one thing and our business was another thing. Yeah, to the extent that actually the temple devotees were not really interested in what we were doing. They were only saying that, oh, you are the guys who are in Karanam's business. I said, yeah, whatever. So for them, these books were not so important, that so there was like a kind of there were some devotees who were into philosophy and science, but they were leaving, they couldn't find some inspiration, and these were difficult times. And Harikesha Swami, he also left later on, so there was not much interest in connecting Krishna consciousness and science. However, I must say, there were some attempts. I remember we had a couple of meetings in Warsaw. There was the devotees from Warsaw, and they wanted to start Bhaktivedanta Institute in Poland in the 90s, but it somehow it didn't work. So that was like a interesting chapter, I would say. And and at the same time, well, I had this problem, I think, with the temple, because I could never commit, because what I thought, it means to follow the principles, because they were bent on principles. Later on, I found out that because I was in a relationship with a devotee, so I was for a while I felt a bit like an insider, So I thought that no one was actually following the principle to the letter, as they had professed. So that was another thing for me. But it's a very interesting time. It's a time where you actually you read the books without specific inspiration. From time to time there's some inspiration. We have a circle of friends who I had my critical mind, so I carried it a little bit also with me. So I had we had like a meetings in the temple on the sofa on the ground floor, talking about anything, how bad the organization was and blah 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 blah, and then maybe taking part in a lecture, depending on who would give the lecture, because otherwise it could be a disaster and you would feel the waste of time. And and then you can there's kirtan, depending if it's not too loud, some of these things. So and then you sit on the sofa, and then you think, okay, so you have to read the books, everything is in the books, you just chant, why would I need a guru? Guru is an abstract notion basically here. Prabhupada is guru, is the guru, yeah. So why would I need, if all the gurus just repeating the same story, why would I need to have my own guru just for institutional reasons or what? And I kind of had my favorite, but I thought, okay, I could become his disciple maybe if he left ISKCON, because I saw how often they had to comply, with the institution. I was afraid, that the voice of the institution was a deciding factor. So that was my situation. And I had a very interesting moment later on, and during this time, I once from time to time I interpreted some devotees or some sadhus, and sometimes I felt stupid while saying what they wanted to say. Sometimes it was inspiring to a point. And once I was asked to interpret, I think it was this name. It was one. I just slipped my mind. And I have my crib somewhere. What's this name? That was a Swami from. Sorry, I just don't remember his name. But anyway, Damodar Swami, yeah, Damodar Swami from yeah, it was Damodar Swami from
Narayan Maharaj.
Narayan Maharaj. Yes, yeah, that was from there. Yes, and it was a really nice. And he gave a talk in one in a devotee's house home, and it was really felt good. I mean, it was kind of nice flow, and it was and I felt really like I was. That's the thing, you know, and it was like a very nice, you can say, magical evening, and where everything went smooth and it was nice. And on my way back, I remember I had just like a thought cross my mind. It was like, you know, maybe I should stop just sitting on the sofa and complain, you know, stop complaining, and maybe I just should serve such sadhus, you know, maybe that, because it felt good. I felt complete, you know, in a way. It's like a moment, but still it was good. So and that was really funny. Why was it funny? Because the next day I get a phone call, and there is later on you know, my god brother Navayovanam is calling. Oh, do you remember me? And I had actually met him before, years before. He said, you know, because I'm organizing a retreat and I'm inviting one Swami. I said, wow, that's like the next day, and it just the very next day, and it like, you know, snap. I said, okay, you know, and he said, and you know, this is Tripurari Swami. And I said, but I, because I first as we were talking, he said, and this is Swami. I said, okay, you know, but maybe, but is it a Swami from ISKCON? I wasn't sure who, you know, so I was a little bit concerned. Now, who am I going to interpret, and how, if I can take it or not? So I said, no, this is Tripurari Swami, and he's not from ISKCON, and so forth. And I said, And I actually remembered a friend of mine, later on, Tamal Chandra, a god brother of mine. He had actually told me about you know, there was a very nice Bhagavad Gita edition, really cool. And he told me a story, and I remember this story that one devotee actually in Wrocław temple recommended reading this, but at some point he read too much, and he said, no, I shouldn't be reading this. So that was like a story. But Tamal Chandra, my friend, he remembered, and I think he ordered, or he had just borrowed this Gita from someone. He said, this is really nice Gita, and this is interesting, Swami. And I also remember he had given me a CD with a talk by Guru Maharaj. But it was, you know, I wanted, actually, it's not a kind of secret. I was more interested in Hridayananda Swami, but he hadn't left ISKCON. So, you know, it was a kind of quandary, also a problem. And I thought, and I listened to, I think, the beginning of the talk by Guru Maharaj, but it was one talk from Kielce, from Poland. And this talk was very slow because it was with a consecutive translation. And I wasn't used to such, you know, small, slow motion, slow talks. And I said, yeah, he's kind of nice, but, you know, it's not, you know, there's you know, it didn't cause any stirring, you know, it was like not so intellectual, like not fast, you know, and kind of sexy. Yes. So I just, yeah, it was there on the shelf, so to say. Okay, so and here I am, and there's a phone call. Okay, Tripurari Swami and Navayovanam, he says, and don't worry, you know, you will pay for it. We'll pay for your translation. You get prasadam for free. You know, we just need you there. I said, sounds good.
Okay.
So, you know, so that was and then I went to Krakow, and you know, the interesting thing, the first thing that struck me was like watching a kind of being in a movie about Prabhupada. I don't know how to explain it, but that was this feeling. Because I remember when I arrived at this spot, I was actually, it was really interesting because I was sharing. I was in a room. I was sharing a room with Premarnava, who was Guru Maharaj's disciple, and he was his servant at that time. And Guru Maharaj himself, he had a separate room. We were sharing like one flat. So for me, it was like major step, because I had always been, I had stayed away from swamis. They were kind of unapproachable to me. And there were monks, and there, all these things, psychological thing about monks. They're different. They live in a different world. I'm small. They are big, and I don't want, I want to stay away from them. So that was like a major step. But why was this Prabhupada movie thing for me? Because I remember that when I entered, there was like a kind of there was a hall and a staircase, and on the ground floor there was a devotee waiting with a garland. Actually he was waiting for the garland. So when I was going, with my, I was just entering this door to the staircase, and suddenly there was, I think, Navayovanam arrived, and he arrived with a garland, and he just tossed this garland to another devotee, and then this devotee was just waiting with a garland. And I said, "Oh, what's going on?" And they're so like focused, and this Swami must be really important. And it was like, this was this feeling I can't explain. It was like feeling that this is their guru, and they care, and this is they are focused. So this was this first impression. And then, after a couple of minutes, when I just left my luggage, I was just sitting in the hall, and then Guru Maharaj came, and we just started talking, and it was like, oh, I'm talking to a Swami, and I don't feel any, I don't feel any, I'm not mental, it's, oh, success, success, point one, success. And then there was another thing that was really surprising, that we actually had lunch together, sitting at the table, like in a cafe, and we were chatting. And I said, well, it's not happening. I'm sitting at a table with a Swami, just chatting, and that's like, well, wow, point two, success. And there were a couple of moments like this during that retreat. And there was also a little, maybe not little, it was a little ego effacing on my side. Yeah, I mean, to my mind, because I had thought, okay, that's just another Swami. I know I have all the life hacks about translating ISKCON Swamis. No problem. Nice, nice, nice city break in Krakow, blah blah blah, And I remember first talk Guru Maharaj was giving to, it was just an, I would say, innocent talk, because the devotees had another comparison to what to Prabhupada's story. Devotees had just invited some ladies from opera, I don't know, like opera singers. Suddenly there were like 6 people from the opera suddenly appeared, in the room, and a bunch of devotees, and Guru Maharaj was giving a talk, right? Like this, it may be too high for the beginners, too low for the advanced ones, right? And so I said, and this was like a bulldozer, running over my head, because I was sweating like hell. I didn't know what he was talking about, and I tried to translate it. And then, he was using different words, different metaphors, different language. And this was like terrible stretching. I was sweating, and the cushion I was sitting on was wet, and it was like going to the gym, basically. And I had it for many times on, to come. So that was my experience, meeting Guru Maharaj. But I had this, it was a very interesting, when I was saying goodbye to him, and I remember after that retreat, it was 2009. I had this feeling that yes, he is a great person to be with. I didn't want to become his disciple. I remember. But he was like a great person to hang out with. So I said, yeah, he's like a professor. He's like an elderly professor, you know, university professor with a big heart and mind. And I would like to kind of, you know, serve him. That there was this thought, you know, that I had initially to serve sadhus, and said, yeah, he's a nice person. I don't want to be his disciple because maybe being disciple is like, will spoil it. Yeah. So it was this thought, the first encounter, you know, with Guru Maharaj. So, and then, you know, and on in way, and the next year, you know, and it was that was actually interesting because next year, you know, things went better. I can't explain. You know, it was, you know, here in this, you got like the messiness. So I felt this messiness in my life, and I remember things went better after I met him. So that was this interesting feeling that you know, I met my wife at the, you know, just between the two retreats, and so, you know, on the just on the side, you know, things were went better. And then there was this idea, you know, of translating books. So I started translating Shikshashtaka, but you know, it was not bed, you know, we say bed of roses, no pleasure cruise, right? Because we had a difficult sanga situation, and those devotees who you know, we had like the old group. And then these newcomers that I was invited by, I had been invited by to come over and interpret and so on. And they were, yeah, it was like, it's like a long story, but to cut it short, we had a lot of tension. They were pushing people, and they had some issues. You know, so that was you know, later on actually. It was, I had a funny feeling that, you know, I need to fight to get to translate Guru Maharaj's books. But it was like an interesting feeling. Well, of course, in the meantime, there were, I got initiated, which was another major experience, I would say. Of course, it was the thing that I didn't want, yeah. But here I am, so.
I'm noticing from...
sorry, pardon?
I'm just noticing, it seems like several times in your story, you're kind of describing this hesitancy. You know, you had some kind of like, you wanted to control how spiritual life kind of entered your, you know, protect yourself in certain ways. And it seemed like from like behind you, without your suspicion, you know, the spiritual energy kind of
I think
and overwhelms you.
Yeah, I'm a difficult case. I need to be overwhelmed. I mean, I need to be outsmarted, you know.
But
probably that's the key.
But it shows that it shows to me, it seems like the spiritual side is wanting you, so it keeps coming. Coming to get you.
Like, yeah, I think so. You know,
and every time it sounds like every time it has more effect, and you.
I must say that the retreat we had in 2011 was just an epitome of this, really. Not even in my case, but in my godbrother's case. Because, well, in my case, first, it was, there is a nice, beautiful village. I need to, you know, introduce the setting because it's important. There's a beautiful village in not far away from Wrocław, where devotees had one of the oldest farm community, ISKCON devotees. But it's a really nice place, and for me, it's always been some kind of refuge. You know, when I had bad time, terrible time in my life or something, it was like soothing place. So interestingly enough, we had our next retreat in 2011 in that place, but in a different venue because, you know, because of politics. So Guru Maharaj was not allowed there, and we didn't even try. You know, there was a local devotee who turned, you know, also interesting story, who became a devotee of Lord Shiva. You know, he came into a lot of money and so forth, and he built on his own property. He built a huge Shiva temple in a Polish village. You know, actually, just aside from it, this village doesn't have a church, so it's like a unique village for Poland, I would say. It has Panchatattva temple and Lord Shiva's temple, and there's some local Slavic deities over there as well. So it's a kind of interesting shrine, let's say. So we got this, so Guru Maharaj was giving talks in this Shiva temple before the deity was installed over there. Imagine Tripurari Swami in Shiva temple giving talks, yes? Yeah. So it was magical, actually. And I remember one talk, so, you know, imagine me just sitting there sweating as usual, and they had like very thin cushions there, like red cushions with a golden lotus. And I was sitting on the cushion next to Guru Maharaj. So it was also stage fright because people were looking at me, and I, you know, it's like double stage fright. And he's, you know, and sometimes he just turned, and he was turning, you know, like his head, you know, it's like looking at me, you know, deep in the eye, and it was really embarrassing, really embarrassing. I mean, it was pleasant and embarrassing at the same time. But there was a talk about guru and disciple. You know, I shouldn't have been there probably, because at one point there was a very peculiar moment. You know, he was just facing the audience, but I felt he was talking to me straight into my heart. And that was really embarrassing because I couldn't escape. I had to continue interpreting. At the same time, at the back of my head, I had this, you know, like, what the hell is going on? I cannot escape. But I kind of, so I was trying to deal with it on a, you know, on a linguistic level. I tried to render this talk. At the same time, I tried to figure out how to, you know, how not to become his disciple, you know, what to say to him after the talk. And I was sweating like double, I guess. and you know, and it was like, and you know, I couldn't actually, you know, I couldn't say anything. I mean, this lecture was beautiful at the same time. So it's like a Molotov's cocktail, you know, in my mind that's going to explode. And yeah, and after the lecture, I was like, oh my God, I mean, what can I say? And and he was looking at me, but he didn't say anything. Probably he sensed what I was, you know, what was going on in my mind. But I said a few things like, you know, out of the blue, I said, no, you know, I don't like authorities, something like this, you know. He said, no, do I. Like a kind of abstract talk, you know. It's like, and I said, you know, my father let me down when I was a kid, you know, he left me. And he said, and I said, and I don't know, maybe one day it will finish. This was like, maybe one day it will finish. I told him, and he was just looking at me, you know, kind of smiling, you know. It's like Krishna and Arjuna, you know, Krishna smiling, and like, you know. So I said, maybe one day it will finish. And he said something, it will never finish. And I was like, you know, so what can I do? I was cornered basically. And yeah, and that was very, very, yeah, it was strong. It was strong. And I said, no, oh no, next day I'm going to him to ask for an initiation. And as a funny thing, and my God, and just aside, and this, you know, the friend that was talking about the Gita, you know, in the first place, he was the first messenger of Guru Maharaj's, you know, message to me. And he's a friend of mine, my friend actually, like bosom buddy. So he said, and he also, the same kind, he's hesitant and so forth, So that was a kind of funny thing. And he knew I was going to get initiation. And he said, okay, like he had he had a sleepless night, it's like something like, and my wife has, she likes some, fortune telling, like she has like angelic cards and this and that, and he said, no, okay, show me the cards, and she was like, it's like tarot or something, I said, connection, connect tarot with Krishna consciousness, and like I thought it would be like an explosive. And she's like, she's putting these cards on the table, and he got the cards like surrender, and trust. And he said, no. And he's like, pacing the room.
I don't want that.
And he said, no. And he's pacing the room, here and there, to and fro. And he said, okay, again, put the cards on the table. And she's like shuffling, and she puts the cards, and watch this out. She got the same cards on the table. And he said, okay, now I cannot escape.
Yeah.
So we were, so we both went, to
nice.
Maharaj. So that was really sweet, so it's really sweet time.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah. So this was like, I think it was a turning point, really. And I couldn't believe it was happening, and I couldn't believe it had happened actually, but it did. So like, I don't know, it's like a major thing. I can talk about other things, but that was like, I think that was, this was like the biggest, I guess this was, I don't know, Guru Maharaj says this clarion call. So, yeah, this is this feeling, maybe it's like this. This is that you cannot resist. And, and he said something like, I knew you would become my disciple. So it was it was reassuring, it's like that Krishna. And then I had this feeling that, despite my stubbornness and, and then this doubting nature and so on, that Krishna had been, he had been with me all the time, So that was this feeling. It was like a natural feeling, like it was so reassuring. So it was really, really sweet, yeah. So
I mean, I know for myself, I can completely relate, and I can understand exactly what you're saying. I imagine most of the people listening also have had similar situations with Guru Maharaj, where it just seems like he knows what you need, and somehow the timing is perfect, and it just draws out such conviction in you, because you just know it's meant to be.
Yeah.
So that was really inspiring. Thank you for sharing. Is there anything you could share, like lessons you learned from your journey that you'd like to about yourself, or that you feel like would be helpful for others to know?
I maybe this is like a kind of cliche. One thing, maybe it's a kind of cliche, that we can just, but this is my experience. It's we really need a guru on our spiritual path. It makes the difference. It makes the difference, really, because sometimes you talk to the devotees or people who just read books and so forth, and I think it's even if I don't know how to relate to this, but actually you sometimes see the devotees you for example met, or many years ago, and then you return to some places, and And you can suddenly realize how much you know, because Gurudev has actually, he gave you this torchlight, and it's not, it may be like, okay, this is some kind of figure of speech, yeah, when we have poetry, devotional poetry, and it's okay, they're religious people, so they sing like this. But this is experience. I met some devotees, and I went to a festival where, for example, I went to an ISKCON festival, and there were really nice devotees there, and there was a really nice sadhu there that I like, but I was, I said, but it's only this. I said, and you see, like that, well, that Guru Maharaj, he had planted something in your heart, and I felt it's like that I'm not satisfied with what I heard there. I mean, it was nice company of the devotees and so forth, but it's like when you, I know you don't compare, but you sometimes for practical reasons you compare in your own life, and you see, oh my God, so he has taken me so far, even without me being attentive enough and skipping, reading and this, and sadhana sucks, and it's like, oh my God, he's taking me that far. But I thought I was, I'm still stupid, but he has taken me that far, right? This is this realization. And I think this is important, yeah. And many things, of course, there are some things like I may say, well, maybe I'm because I had some struggles in the sanga, for example, to I had like those devotees left, and we had like there was some bitterness and so forth, but even after all these years, when I don't see them, I don't have these struggles, I'm grateful, because they got me in touch with Guru Maharaj, so it's like sometimes a big lesson is nothing is, it's also a kind of our cliche, nothing is black and white. There are some gray shades of gray, yes, and sometimes the person you think, okay, like they did some, they were not necessarily, like model devotees that you picture yourself, in your mind, but they gave you your guru. So what can you do? You just, okay, you don't have to be friends, but you can be grateful also for this, because you don't know, what happened before. Maybe I was in his position, and he was in mine. So, maybe that's a different, looking at things from some kind of perspective. But I guess, yeah, that's that was probably, there can be other things to say, but I wouldn't like to.
That's really nice. I like what you were saying about. I was thinking as you were describing meeting Guru Maharaj, this kind of difference between an intellectual approach to spiritual life versus an experiential. And again, that theme kind of came out in many things you were saying, at least to me, that you have this overwhelming experience, and then your spiritual life from then on becomes an experiential, or like the idea that you become in touch with the devotees, you meet devotees, and you hear these things, you must have a guru, you must have a guru. And like Maharaj says, you get to an experiential point where I must have a guru. And
yeah, and it strangely enough, interestingly enough, it happens even though you consciously may not be after it. So it's like I may kind of repress it. I mean, like, no, the mind may overtake me, but there is a moment when there is, okay, snap, like we say, this portal of opportunity in this way, like, and maybe later on I would just kind of talk myself out of it, or I don't know. And another thing, maybe it's also like, this is what Guru Maharaj is talking about all the time, that when you get one guru, you get many gurus. because you can yeah, I mean, he's the one, but but you look around and you see many wonderful people in the sangha and also outside of the sangha. Yes. I think that paradoxically, Guru Maharaj is not he's not like an organizational type, and he was telling the truth. It's like, he's not after organizations. I said, I don't like organizations. And he said, no do I. And that's true. Because sometimes it's like, you can, it's a kind of journey. It's not like I'm in the sangha and I've got to stamp, Sri Chaitanya Sangha, because sometimes I can, get on with other people. It's a paradox.
Sure.
But I can, other people can nourish me at some time. I may have a crisis in the sangha, for example, right? I don't know, I may get crossed with other people. It's like, and they may be the same with me. And it's not like a kind of uniform thing, and everyone is individual. Yeah. So this is also, this is, I don't know, maybe this is also a kind of teaching, in our lesson, in everyday life. If you want to discern, we see this also, that on the one hand, we can be like, there's oneness, but on the other, there are different stories. Yes, you have different people, and sometimes people from, the outside of Sangha, they can share they can kind of, you can share with them more on not on the spiritual level, for example. Yes. So it's this is and it's it seems to be okay. And it's variety. Yes. And we see this, we have this room for variety, and this is also great. And and this, but we have people in the Sangha like giving talks, but he's behind it, because they got inspired by him, and then you get multiplicity of gurus, but in a specific way, right?
Yeah, I like that. That's a very nice point.
Okay, so I managed.
You did very good.
Or maybe it was like, I think it was
you made it very easy.
You led me, and thank you for this, so thank you for this.
Well, I'm very happy to meet you and hear your story this way. I know much more about you. It'll be nice to meet you in person sometime.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe, who knows who will be first in Poland and who will be first in the US, but yeah, I actually wanted, I was thinking of going to Saragrahi and so on and so forth, but we had a story 1.5 years ago and it was a little bit thwarted, but who knows, right? So it would be nice get together. I think Sakirati was talking about it, right? There was a plan to have a big mela of all the disciples, yes, together, Guru Maharaj's disciples and Sangha people. So
we'll get there sometime.
Yeah,
hopefully. Anyway, if you ever want to come for a visit.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So I should ask for questions. If anybody has any questions, you can unmute yourself, or you could write it in the chat. I don't know if this thing cuts off at a certain time, but I think we only have a few minutes left. Does anybody have any question for Guru-vakya Prabhu? Anybody?
I just want to thank you and Guru-vakya and mention that the first time I met Guru Maharaj, it was in Prague, and then we went to a Polish retreat. And some months before, I kind of hesitated and decided not to go anymore. But then Guru-vakya, with all his patience and love, he wrote me many emails telling me, not that I should, but kind of.
Nice.
And
it was a nice place to stay, you know.
Yes.
Out in the mountains, nice prasadam, you know.
So thank you for that.
Adam.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's like, you know, you have this.
Okay.
Yeah. But, you know, Sekirati, you inspired me a lot, and here throughout, and you know, and you know, for this Bulgarian retreat also, and it was really sweet. Yeah. Yeah, Madan Gopal, I think you should also go to Bulgaria, you know, not only to Poland, right? It's not yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful place, you know, like tour of the Europe. I saw you once. Yeah, you I think you had a trip to Italy. Once. Yeah, I saw some pictures. So, you know, next time it could be like Italy, Bulgaria, and Poland, right?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Like so, yeah.
Finland.
And Sweden. And
yeah,
the UK.
everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
So Sharda has a question in the chat. What were the qualities of Guru Maharaj's writings that you found most attractive?
Maharaj's writings. He's poetical, you know. He's poetical. There was the first Swami, first Swami I've ever read that was poetical, you know, because most of the others were just intellectual, and he was poetical, and he coined his own terms, right? And he had a lot of words that describe this, you know, the like we say, portal of opportunity, right? I mean, this is his words. I believe it may be also Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Maharaj's you know, metaphors, but he may have imbibed some of them from him, but I think he added his own, and you know, a lot of beautiful things that he wrote and he said. So that's you know, this is like a new language. This is that actually this destroyed my ego because I thought everything it's like, yeah, a lot of language that is new, and you see that it's not just you know, parroting. It is actually experiencing and thought, and it's a kind of he deeply thought about things, and then you know, like for example, aesthetic rapture. Have you ever? I mean, have you ever heard anything like this before? I mean, or did you ever hear before? Like you read his books? I don't remember anything like aesthetic rapture. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you know, or you know, all these stories. You have those quotable quotes. Yes. So sometimes you read Gita commentary and you have them, you know, talking about the nature of sound and Gopala Tapani, for example, about the yantras and sounds, right? It was, you know, there's little things, they are just aside, yeah, from the core of philosophy, but you know, you've got this, I said, wow, you know, it's, so it was like it rang the bell. It was a little bit like, you know, Sadhaputta, but Sadhaputta was more on the intellectual side. And here you go, you've got also this feeling, not only philosophy. And on top of this, I must tell you one thing, because I remember, you know, I shouldn't forget this, because I told you the story about my book publishing, you know, chapter. But the funny thing is that my third business partner, the one who kept doing this book publishing business, he's actually my godbrother right now, and he's publishing Guru Maharaj's books. So, you know, so that's a very interesting thing as well. And he met Guru Maharaj actually the same year I did. He got initiated later on, but what a coincidence. So that's really cool, right?
Yes.
I really liked how you said you were speaking about the first time you did interpretation, and you kind of approached it like you had this idea. I know what they say, what the swamis say. And I had a similar experience. I'd been a devotee for a while. I knew some philosophy, and I went and heard Guru Maharaj, and I was kind of like, okay, well, something interesting. And he said things that I knew where he was getting it from, but it was in such a different language, and it made so much more impact. It wasn't just like you're saying, it wasn't parroting. It was like filtered through this kind of beautiful, poetic, and his own personality and realization, and it made it so much more kind of overwhelming.
And another thing, because things just kind of streaming into your mind, and my crib just is useless, but I remember a very important thing, and why I said Guru is important, because he one overwhelming thing, really important, I think, to our understanding is his emphasis, on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Who is more important, the gift or the giver, right? And it's like, oh my God, right? And so all these little things, and I remember, Anadi Karma story, right? Different understanding of what mercy is, and there is no sense of guilt. You're not fallen in an ontological sense, right? So a lot of things, but it took me some time to kind of, but that was really, it's an ongoing story.
I just wanted to, if Martin, if you could ask, Mahapriya has written a question in Spanish, and I think the last time I was on a call, she asked a question and we didn't get to her, so
Okay.
I want to make sure that. Thank you. And I don't know how it goes back and forth through the
Maybe I can try this
interpreter, but
translator.
if someone could repeat it, that'd be in English, that'd be great. Oh, yeah.
So how did I accept myself? How did I accept him as a guru? Yes. It is, it's how did I accept him as a guru? This is it's not like it's hard to explain in words, actually. This is how you fall in love, right? I mean, how do you fall in love? In a sense, it can take different forms. Sometimes I think it can be also intellectual, but it wasn't intellectual, because I just it was the moment I actually accepted him. I said that, well, if I leave the room and I don't accept him, this will be the most stupid thing in my life. There was some kind of thought, you know, it's like, I got the perfect moment. That was it. My mind was kind of, you know, my mind was fighting with me, against my, against my good fortune, we can say. But it was not like a mind and you have to fight and, grind your teeth or something. It was just, you know, the mind, I was just, it was, I don't know, it was like a movie in a sense. I saw, you know, I was watching, but then in my heart, I felt, okay, now it's like you have neti, maybe, you know, you have not this, not that, not this, not that. And then what? And then it's this. So it was like, you know, you get rid of the mess. And now what? I mean, you're gonna leave with the mess, or you're gonna stay with the trophy? Okay, I don't know how to call it. It's stupid, like trophy, but you get the trophy, but you've got some, you've got the golden, you've got gold medal. But what you want to have, whatever, like you want to have chocolate or gold medal. I don't know. It's like it's a kind of feeling, and it is also not. I think the moment of initiation is not actually the initiation. I think from, you know, in retrospect, the moment of initiation when you actually appreciate this person in your heart. I don't know. It may be dynamic. It may be like you appreciate, and it gets more and more intense. And that's why your mind may be opposing, because it gets deeper into your, you know, into yourself, right? It's kind of stirring in your mind. Yeah. So the moment I was opposing, it's not like he kind of brainwashed me and I was opposing. He was kind of, you know, he had his, powers, and he was doing something against my will. It was more like my mind was opposing because he got deeper, than when I met him. But I think it was this direction, yes. So I don't know if that that answers your question, but it's not like intellectual process that I have a table and I make a list of advantages and disadvantages. It's maybe I don't know. I'm surprised sometimes because we have this I think advice from the Goswamis, right? That you should stay with your guru for some time and live, and guru should like kind of see you. But I don't know, maybe in our times it's not fully possible, right? So I mean, that was it.
Okay, well, that was wonderful. Thank you for coming forward to do this interview.
Thank you for interviewing me. Because I forgot to be scared, so it was you need a good interviewer.
I was plenty scared for you, so
okay, so
care for myself.
2 minuses make a plus, right? So.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, all the devotees.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for questions. And yeah, it was inspiring. It was really inspiring for me. I could go back, in my memories. It's really inspiring. It was a great opportunity.
Yep. So anybody listening, we would like to interview you also. It's really, really nice experience. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Haribol.
Guru-vakya Prabhu ki jai.
Madan Gopal Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Sakyarati Devi ki jai.
Shamananda ki jai.
Shamananda ki jai.
Gaura Bhaktavrinda ki jai.
Martin ki jai. Sharda ki jai.
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 Okay.
All of you.
There's a
Jai.
long list.
Thank you.
Who will be
Or
next?
Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Thank you. Oh.
Who will be
Next week is, if you give me just a second. Sorry. Okay. So next week is Kamalaksha Prabhu,
Mm,
Jai.
Jai.
and then the week after that is Brigupad Prabhu, and then the last Thursday of September is Brajasundari Prabhu.
All right.
So I get to know all of the European devotees a little better.
Right.
This is nice. Okay, thank you all.
All right. Thank you.
Hari Hari Bol.
Haribol. Haribol. Thank you.
All right,